Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's myself, Gingerbeard Man, here today, and today's episode we are bringing the top Wonderkids in PES 2021 season update. And yeah, we got 27 players lined up, and we're going to jump straight into it. So yeah guys, the main idea for this episode is to have a look at the players that you can maybe use in your My Club, but also in your Master League, which is the main one. So yeah guys, let's dive into it. The first up, we've got Harvey Elliot, playing for Liverpool, 17 years old. He's a right winger, left-footed, and we're just going to quickly go through all his stats. Dribbling 77, speed and acceleration, but of course the balance is the one that sticks out for him, and a few player skills as well to add to his skills. But you can see his development sheet there on the upward arrow. So yeah, next up we've got Cherokee out in France. He's playing for Olympique Lyon. He's a creative playmaker, 17 years old, and he can play right across the front there, and of course as a number 10 as well. So nice little player. Of course he's got dribbling and speed are the main ones that stand out. Even that nice tight possession standing out as well, which is quite good. And then of course he's got a very good weak foot sitting on 4, so a nice little playmaker. We can look at his player skills here. He's got a whole bunch of them: one touch pass, through passing, long range drive, double touch skill, which all adds to his game. And then we just take a quick look at his actual progress. Not as high as I would think, but it's on the up, so not too bad. Next up we've got the Japanese goalkeeper, and he's sitting only at 58 overall, and he is a defensive goalkeeper, but he's got quite a bit of height on him, sitting at 193 centimeters. Not the best of stats, but he's a nice little player that you can add to your Master League if you don't have a very high starting budget. So a nice little player. We just take a look at his development sheet. It is on the up, but like I said, nice little player that you can add in if you don't have a very high budget. Next up we've got the Japanese striker, can also play on the left wing. I'm not going to even attempt to announce some of these Japanese names, but it's on the screen and you guys can have a look at that. And not the best of overalls as well, sitting at 59 overall, and one or two stats that sort of stand out there is a little bit of speed and ball control, but nothing too fancy. And then a very stagnated development sheet. Of course he's not the best of Wonderkids, but he is someone that you could add to your team if you are looking to rebuild a lower team. Next up we've got Esposito, playing in Inter Milan out in Italy, and he's a fox in the box player, 18 years old, right-footed centre forward. He made his name on the mark for last season, and he's got one or two upward stats as well, which is nice. He's got acceleration and finishing are his main sort of attributes, but it's always good to have a physical contact up front with the striker. Nice little target man as well, sitting at 186 centimeters. One or two player skills. Super sub, of course, coming off the bench, can sort of do the business for you. And then we take a look at his actual progress on the development sheet in Master League. A little bit stagnated, but I'm sure with lots of game time he will be able to be a very nice player for you. So there we go. Next up we've got Quasi, our first centre back. Just don't mind the team here for Newcastle United. He actually plays his football out in Germany by Munich. Big money move for PSG, but somehow he's landed in Newcastle here in this save. But you can see 18 years old, 73 rated. He got a nice big upgrade from last PES. He was on 65 rated. And you can see quite a bit of stats jumping up here. Of course, his physical contact and his headering are the ones that stand out. He's got a little bit of speed about him, and have some defensive awareness, which is nice. And he's quite a nice big unit at 187 centimeters, with man marking and interception as his player skills. And he's got a slightly better development sheet in Master League. You can see it's on the up there. So yeah, nice little centre back to pick up. Next up we've got the Psv Playmaker, in Harrington. He's made a big name for himself there out in Netherlands, and he's a nice little player to get in your team. Got some speed about him, he's got some dribbling, and he's got a whole bunch of player skills as well, which makes it really fun to play with. Of course he's got some long range shooting, with through passing, no look passing, so he's got some flair about him. And you can see his upward arrow is shooting straight to the 80s, hopefully by the time he reaches to 21 years old. So a nice little player there to get for your Master League. Next up we've got Kavanagh. He needs no introduction. I'm sure you guys have heard about him, but he's got a nice game face from last year. He's an anchor man that's sitting in the holding midfielder roles, left-footed player, only 18 years old, and he's got a little bit of everything about him. Some good speed for an anchor player, dribbling, ball control, good passing, some nice balance, good defensive traits as well. So he's a really, really nice player. Of course, interception and one-touch pass makes it vital for the midfield players for your Master League, and you can see he's going to reach 80s in no time. So a nice little play there to pick up in your Master League. Next up, we've got the Japanese centre-back. Another, not the best of Wonderkids, but he is a young player that has been added into PES 2021, and you can see he plays out his football out in Japan. He's a 59 centre-back. Like I said, not the best of stats, but he could be someone that you could maybe bring in and create a challenge and try and really progress him. He will be in the 60s pretty soon. You can see that upward arrow or the upward graph, and yeah, he should be up there in no time. Next up, we've got a nice right back. He can also play on the right mid. 19 years old, playing for Japan. He's got a little bit of passing, long passing about him. I think that's one of his main traits. I won't be surprised. Yeah, he does. He has pinpoint crossing, so which is a nice one. A sort of attacking fullback that can play. And you can see the upward graph on this one. He's going to shoot into the 60s and high 60s and 70s pretty soon, I'm sure. So a nice little right back that you can add to your squad, and relatively cheap as well. Next up, we've got the left back. So another young Japanese left back. Also got a little bit of passing about him, which is quite nice. So you could even bring in these two guys as your main right and left backs, and you can see he's 61. He's shooting straight into the mid 60s and 70s pretty soon, by the age of say 22 or so. So a nice little play that you can pick up quite cheap as well. Oda, I'll attempt to say his name. He's a right winger, can play right across the front line, of course on the left as well. He's right footed. He's got some speed about him, which is nice, and then a little bit of physical contact that stands out. And yeah, no player skills, but definitely on the up there, as you can see with the development sheet, one of the highest so far that we've seen, and he's shooting straight up to those 70s pretty soon. So a nice little right winger to bring into your team. Next up, we've got another left back playing out in Japan as well. He can play left mid and left back, 63 rated. He's only got a little bit of speed about him, nothing too fancy, and no player skills as well, but you can see that upward graph as well, hitting into the 70s pretty soon. Next up, we've got Maldini, of course the son of the famous icon that played for AC Milan, so nice little addition to add him. He was in PES 2020 last season, but he got a nice little stat upgrade to 67, and he's now attacking midfielder, but he also has a playing style of prolific winger, so he can play all over the pitch up front. A nice little player to have in your AC Milan team if you want to rebuild AC Milan, or even move maybe to a lower Italian team and make his mark there, which is quite nice. He's got some speed, he's got some dribbling about him, so a nice little player, and of course he's got that high weak foot usage as well, so which is quite nice. Long range drive and cut back and turn, so a little bit skillful, and you can see his arrow, or his graph should I say, is moving towards the 70s pretty soon, so a nice little player there. Next up, we've got Gardner that plays for Manchester United. Nice little player, anchor man, sitting in the midfield. Almost reminds me a little bit of Michael Carrick, and he's got some passing and some physical contact about him as well. Some good defensive stats overall, should I say. And of course he's got loads of player skills, weighted pass, low lofted pass, interception, even the captain's armband if you need it, with some fighting spirit. So nice little player that you can buy into your into your Master League, and build your team a little bit around him, and then you can see he shoots into the 70s basically after the first season, so which is quite nice. So nice little player there for Manchester United. Next up, we've got Pellegrini. Still on the Wonderkids list. He's been here for so many years back to back, but he's still in and around there. He got a little bit of a decrease in his stats. He has struggled with some injuries, but he's a big target man. He's got some speed about him, he's got physical contact about him, finishing all the way up there at the top, and he's a nice big unit at 188 centimeters. He's a super sub, so he can come on and do the business for you, and still has that nice upward graph arrow shooting into the mid 70s, so a nice little target man that you can buy. Cherokee, of course, he made a name for himself for Bayern Munich last season, and he's a very nice player. I even use him in the main team sometimes, and he's a lot of fun to play with. He's just got so much speed and strength about him, and when he gets in front of goals, he can finish as well, which is quite nice. Sitting at 193 centimeters, so he's quite a big lad. And of course, he does have the super sub trait as well, which is quite nice. And you can see his graph shooting into the mid 70s pretty soon as well. Fits quite nicely into the Bayern Munich team. Next up, we've got Billy Gilmore for Chelsea, the first classic number 10 player that we have. 19 years old, and can do the business in the middle of the park. He made himself a name last season for Chelsea, pulling the strings there in the midfield. And of course, you can see the low passing, ball control, and that balance is really what stands out here. And he's got some aggression about him as well to win the ball back, so which is quite nice. Fighting spirit is vital in this game, and he's got some nice passing skills as well. And I'm pretty sure he'll be hitting the mid 70s, if not 80, by the time he's 21, 22. So a very, very nice player to have in your Master League save. Next up, we've got Pedro playing his football in the Championship in England. He signed for Watford last season, and he got quite a few stat upgrades here. You can see he's got some speed about him, nice finishing, headering, pretty overall, nice dribbling skills as well, and one or two player skills as well, acrobatic finishing, chip shot, and scissors feint. So a nice little skillful Brazilian that you can put into your team. Might be the next Brazilian wonder kid. So as you can see, his Master League development sheet is shooting straight into those 80s pretty soon, I'm sure. So nice centre forward to get. Next up, we've got Kubo. Of course, he plays for Real Madrid, out on loan at Villarreal. He's a creative playmaker, had a fantastic season for Real Mallorca. He's now moved to Villarreal on loan, and very, very nice player. He can play basically anywhere in the front. He's got some good acceleration about him, quick off the mark, dribbling. That balance really helps to not brush off or get brushed off the ball pretty easily. And he's got a whole host of player skills as well, which is very, very, very fun to play with. And yeah, shooting into the 80s pretty soon. By the age of 22, I rate he'll be in the mid 80s. So yeah, very, very nice player to have in your Master League save. Next up, we've got I'm going to attempt to say his name, Basharian, and he's playing for Belgium. And Anderlecht is a whole player, which is he drives into the box to get sort of goals at the end of the move. And he's even got a low pass star of 1, which is very, very good. And he's got some speed about him. He's got some passing, dribbling about him. He's quite a nice overall player to have in your number 10 spot. Pinpoint crossing, through passing, dipping shot. He's got a whole host of player skills, and that upward arrow there, sure you'll hit the 80s pretty soon. So next up, we've got Lee Kang-in playing for Valencia. Actually got 2 stats down in this PES 2021. He is a classic number 10, sitting at 76 overall, but he is still quite good to play with. He's got some good acceleration to quickly get off the mark, some dribbling, some passing about him as well, and then a few player skills through passing, one-touch pass, which is quite good. And then of course his arrow is sort of on the up there. Next up, we've got Martinelli playing for Arsenal. Made a name for himself for Arsenal last season, did extremely well. Did pick up an injury towards the end of last season, but he still managed to get some stat boosts here with some speed and acceleration, which is the ones that stand out with that balance, which makes it extremely, extremely difficult to defend. And he's got a couple of player skills as well, and you can see his arrow shooting to the mid 70s or high 70s into the 80s pretty soon. So nice little striker to get. Only 4 more players left. We've got the striker from Netherlands, AZ. AZ got quite a few youth players coming through the ranks. I'm sure we'll see them in later top Wonder Kid videos from myself, the 20 and 21 year olds, so stay tuned for that. But we've got a nice striker here, as you can see, very strong up front, got good balance and physical contact for his speed, and then he's got some dribbling and ball control as well to match that. So weak foot is also extremely good, so a nice little striker to have in your team for the years to come. A little bit stagnated here on the development sheet, I'm a bit surprised by that, but I'm sure with loads of game time that'll shoot straight up. So yeah, next up we've got Saka, also made a name for himself for Arsenal with Martinelli last season. He's a prolific winger. He has moved up quite a bit of stats. I think he was about 72 overall last season. He's now a 77. and he's definitely one to have in your My Club team, sorry, in your Master League team. And dribbling, of course, stands out. His speed and acceleration, balance as well, and he can also play at left back. He's got a few player skills, one touch pass, low lofted pass, and a couple of skills as well. So quite a nice player to have in your team. Again, stagnated here a little bit, but I'm sure with loads of game time he will be shooting into those 80s. So next up we've got Mason Greenwood. No need to introduce him. He's a brilliant wonder kid from Manchester United. Even got his squad number lowered down to number 11, the famous Ryan Giggs number, and I'm sure he'll be doing the business for Manchester United this season. Yeah, it's a bit strange that he's right-footed. I feel that he is left-footed, but he does have that 4-star or the 4 weak foot accuracy and usage, which he can kick with both feet, which is vital. Of course, he's got some speed about him. He's got some big stat boosts here with regards to speed and finishing since the last PES. Good balance about him as well, and loads and loads of player skills just to top that off. So one of the best wonder kids in the game, probably, sitting at his age. He's a very nice player. Of course, he'll be shooting into the 80s pretty soon. And the last one we got, of course, is Rodrigo from Real Madrid. He got a massive stat boost here. It's only 2 overall, but if you look at his stats in the abilities, in the ability tab, you can see he's got so much speed and balance about him. His dribbling is so good. Only sitting at 19 years old. He's got 2-star dribble through as well, which makes it extremely difficult to defend. And I'm sure he'll be mid-80s pretty soon. So yeah, guys, that is the 27 players from the top Wonder Kids in PES 2021. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If there's anyone that you would like to see that doesn't have a face, I'm happy to do some videos with regards to that. But if you did like it, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.